How you doing? And welcome to another episode of Collecting with Rob. Today we're not going to be showing off any new items that I got from my collection. No autographs today. We're going to do something different that we're going to be adding to the channel, where we're going to start showing reviews, different ratings of TV shows, movies, certain episodes from shows, what we liked about them, what we didn't like. So today we're going to do actual rankings of the Marvel Disney Plus live action shows, from worst to best, the shows that I liked and the shows that I didn't like. So this is from a fan's perspective, different than a critic's. Critics certain times, you can't always go by what critics say. You gotta, sometimes the fan score, especially on like Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, is more accurate than what a critic thinks. So this is my particular opinion on what was good in the MCU, Disney live action shows, and what I didn't like. So these are the rankings. So this is something new we're gonna add to the channel, and I hope you enjoy. So coming in at complete dead last, number 7. I hate to say this because I've pretty much enjoyed everything Marvel. There were some things that, I didn't like as much as others. Some things that I found, could have been much better, for sure. But this is the first thing I believe that Marvel has put out that it's not that I didn't like, I absolutely hated it. And this is She-Hulk. I don't know what to say about this show, but nothing from episode 1 to the final episode that just premiered, I didn't like any of it. Number one, it's labeled as a comedy, and I have to say, I don't believe I laughed one time watching this show. If you're writing a comedy, it has to be funny, and I don't know, maybe the jokes didn't land for me, maybe it landed for others. I hope it did, but I don't know how people could laugh. I don't think anything in this show was funny. As far as anything else, this did not feel like a Marvel show or a Marvel project. It felt like a one-off what if, something like that just isn't part of the universe. And now getting to that not being part of the universe, the actual storyline of the show is like she's writing her own show at the end. Now, spoiler alert, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. So I couldn't believe that they did this. At the end of the show, they have her going to somebody called Kevin, meaning Kevin Feige, and she's going to write her own story. What the hell are they thinking? Just, that's completely killing canon. Like, if you appreciate Marvel and you appreciate the canon and the universe of it, how could you appreciate this? This is almost like, I know it's not important to some people, but to people that have been watching Marvel from the beginning and grew up with it, like me, who love these movies, love these shows, and then to see something that's just like, oh, we're gonna go into the Marvel offices, we're gonna write our own story. It's like, wait, so you're just saying like everything that happened is like a joke and it's not part, like you're suspending the belief. It just doesn't make sense. And the argument are people like, well, it's different. We wanted a different show. We enjoyed this. It's changing it up a bit, which I totally get. And I think it would have been all right if they said that. They said this is not a canon show and we're going to do something different. It's not going to be canon, but it's going to be like a what if, and we're going to make it more of a comedy, more of like a sitcom type, and it's going to be, what She-Hulk would do if she were to write her own show and something like that. And that's totally fine. But to do it this way, the villains were stupid, the whole Reddit skit, and it just made no sense, this whole show. They kept pushing, I guess to add the viewership, they kept pushing that Daredevil's coming, so people kept watching it just to see Daredevil. And he finally came, and it was a disappointment. The CGI was awful in the show, probably the worst CGI in any Marvel show yet or movie. He came in, it just wasn't the same Daredevil from the Netflix shows, that's for sure. More of like a comedy, but it wasn't funny again. And I hope they don't do that with his character as they go forward, because he's very beloved. Charlie Cox. I hope they keep with the seriousness. I love having, some humor. Of course, this is what MCU is. You're going to love humor. I mean, I love that stuff. But don't make his character completely almost like a joke. So I hope, but we'll talk about Daredevil when that comes out. But for now, about this show, just, again, there was nothing good about this show. Again, I don't believe I laughed once. I really don't understand what they were doing. And again, going with the suspending disbelief, just going to that topic of, okay, we're going to break canon, she's going to write her own story. Just think about if this was Star Wars. Think about The Mandalorian or Andor or any of these new shows. Luke Skywalker. say Luke Skywalker goes into George Lucas's room in Lucasfilm and he says, "I'm changing the story. I'm writing it this in the canon of the Star Wars universe." People would flip. Marvel is just as important as Star Wars, if not more at this point in age. And to do this, I just don't think it was the right choice. I really don't understand how you can say this is a canon show. Again, just a terrible show. And let's hope She-Hulk is a beloved character, a very popular comic book character, one of the first female comic book characters to come out and to be very popular. So I hope they make the character as if she is in more MCU stuff. I hope they get rid of this whole stupid storyline that they have going. I doubt this is gonna get a second season. I heard the ratings are just the worst of any of the Marvel shows, so I can't see it getting a second season. But if it does, I hope they make it better and they learn from their mistakes because it has a lot of critics. A lot of the audience don't like this show, and it's rightfully so. And if you do like this show, more power to you. I don't mind it. I appreciate different opinions. But me personally, I don't believe this was a Marvel show. That's canon. It's just stupid. So that's why I have it at number 7. Number 6, we have Miss Marvel. So this show I didn't hate. It was designed. I could see the show wasn't designed for for the older audience. It seemed like a kiddie show, and it was fine. It kept with the canon. It had a nice family relationship between the protagonist and the family. Again, it just felt like what I didn't like mostly about it is just it did feel like a Disney Channel show. But again, I have no complaints about it because again, it followed the canon. It was fine. It adds to the story. It introduces a new character that's going to probably be a new part of the Young Avengers and a new part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, especially with the Marvels coming out. So it did its job. It was fine. I think the kids would like it. Again, it wasn't meant to be a huge show, probably. Again, another one that probably didn't do very well with the ratings, I heard, with the viewership numbers. But again, it wasn't designed, to be a big hit. It was mainly to, add to the Marvel audience, get some kids involved, get them to loving Marvel as well. And I think it did its job, and it was fine. So I have really no complaints. Again, not my particular cup of tea of a show. Will not probably rewatch the show or anything. But again, I didn't hate it. It was fine for what it was, and I have it at number 6. At number 5, we have Moon Knight. I like this show. I thought it was pretty good. I didn't think it was great. That's why I have it at number 5. I expected a little more of it, but I like the idea of Marvel going more to the darker aspect of Marvel. Getting a little darker. I believe they can do that with Daredevil. Showing a little bit like the psychiatric mind and mental illness that's going on between the two different forms of this character. It was pretty interesting to see. The comic is pretty popular as well. So I thought it would be more like the comic. It wasn't very similar, but I think I had a little more hopes for the show, being that it had Oscar Isaac, who I think is a great actor, and I think he did a phenomenal job in the role. I think he's a very good he's a great actor, and he did a very well job. But again, the show to me it was mediocre. It wasn't bad, and it wasn't great. So at this point, not much to say. We can do a full review on it in the future, but again, I think number 5 is a perfect spot for this show. So number 4, I put Falcon and Winter Soldier. This was a tough one to rank because I'm always mixing, I'm always changing my opinion on did I like Falcon and Winter Soldier better or did I like Moon Knight better? And it's constantly changing between 5 and 4. I thought the show was good. It's a good way to introduce, again, the new Captain America. It showed a dynamic between the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And it really helps push forward the MCU where we're seeing these new characters and they're going to become a big part of pretty much the new Kang Dynasty Avenger formation that's happening where they're going to be fighting the Kang Dynasty. So we're introducing to these new characters. So it definitely aided that and got us to learn more about the characters, what they mean, what they're going to be like. I think the new Captain America is going to be one of the new leaders of the Avengers. The adult Avengers. So it's definitely helped progress the MCU a little bit into the next wave of Avenger films. So it did that. What I didn't like is a lot of it was just boring, the show. I was bored a lot of times watching the show. I was like, And that was the only you see that was like my main critique with it. I think they could have had a little more, just made it a little more fun and a little more interesting. But again, it wasn't terrible. It definitely was. It wasn't like She-Hulk. Let's put it that way. And again, I'm always changing. Did I like Moon Knight better? Did I like this one? I have it at number four though because again, I like the characters and I think they're gonna become a big part of the Marvel universe. And really, nothing terrible with this show. Number three, we have Loki. I really enjoyed this show. I think it's a great show, and I think everybody enjoys Tom Hiddleston as Loki. He's an OG. He's an original. He's one of the original ones. Villain, then he becomes good, then he becomes a villain. He's always dying, coming back to life, dying. But just the character is very fun. The way Hiddleston plays him is really exciting. To be honest, I think I like Loki better than Thor, and I like Thor too. But I think Loki as a character, I think he's got a lot of layers and is a very interesting and fun character to watch. So this show didn't disappoint. I really enjoyed the timeline storyline. But what I liked most about it was it sets us up to the next generation of what we're going to. So we're so used to in the past we had Thanos. Thanos is the main villain. You got the snap. We're past that now. Now we're moving to the future and we're going to the Kang Dynasty. And this was the first show that actually sets up Kang and what he's what he is, what is he like. And the thing with Kang is he's a big part of the comics. You'll see if you read even with the Young Avengers, he's a big part with the Young Avengers. He actually starts off as a Young Avenger, and he becomes Kang. And it's just going to be very interesting how they do that with Marvel going forward. Obviously, it's going to be a big deal. Kang is it's the new way of their where they're going. It's the new He's the new big villain. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of stuff that's gonna happen with Young Avengers. They didn't announce that yet. I'm sure they will for sure. It's a big part of the comics, and it's gonna be really interesting how they handle that. Again, he's an awesome villain, and I'm really excited to what Marvel can become if they do it the right way. Loki, again, first show to show him off, show what's gonna happen. I think it's definitely getting a season two. It was a great show. I think everyone enjoyed it, and yeah, I have it at number three. For number two, I don't know what can I say, but I absolutely love this show, WandaVision. So I was actually pleasantly surprised when I first saw the trailers and then the first episode with the black and white, the I Love Lucy thing. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. I'm not really into those old shows or whatever. But the way they did this, it was so creative and so cool and so fun. I really enjoyed the show. I liked the dynamic between Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany. It really introduced Elizabeth Olsen and Scarlet Witch really for the first time as a major character in the MCU, which was nice. Um, Really just very fun to see like that go from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, all the way up until, modern era. And the dynamic, very creative, great writing, absolute one of the best MCU shows. Obviously, I have it at number two, and I think it's a must watch, especially if you love Marvel. And it's even if you do not like Marvel and it's not your thing, I think you can enjoy this show if you're into like sitcoms because this was done the right way. There was nice family element to it. There was some comedy that was actually landed. Just everything really good show. I know some people have some complaints about the finale. It didn't land. They were expecting some people like Mephisto and things like that. That's I get it. But I think the finale was fine for what it was, and the whole show was just it did a really well job, and it's definitely deserving of a rewatch, especially around Halloween time, which is now. So definitely a very good show. WandaVision at number two. And for number one, it's pretty obvious if you're a fan of this channel and if you've been watching my videos from the beginning. Obviously, I'm a huge Haley Steinfeld fan, but I'm also a huge fan of Hawkeye, and I absolutely love this show. Number one, easily the best show of all the Marvel shows. Between the casting, of course, is great. I mean, you got not only Haley Steinfeld, who's just a phenomenal actress, but you also got Florence Pugh, who's a phenomenal actress in the show. You got Jeremy Renner, who's a great actor as well. And then, you got Vincent D'Onofrio returning as Kingpin. You got the Christmas aspect. I mean, who doesn't love a good Christmas fun show? And you have the aspect of in New York City at the time. So I grew up in New York. I live in New York. So it's just so nice to see the Rockefeller Center, FAO Schwartz, and all that Christmas atmosphere. It's really a show that's very rewatchable, especially during the holidays, and just a lot of fun. It's lighthearted. It does very well with introducing Kate Bishop to the MCU, who will become probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, characters going forward in the MCU. She leads the Young Avengers. She's a big part of the Kang Dynasty and shutting him down. So obviously, Feige had talked about how he, specifically wanted Haley, and he got her. He was able to get her into the MCU. So there's gonna be a lot going with that character moving forward. So it was great to see, the beginning of that character, and it really was pretty similar to the comics. Of course there's differences, but other than that, like, you got that chemistry between Rena and Haley, which was just phenomenal. But even more so, you have the chemistry between Haley and Florence, which I'm sure going forward, with how exciting and fun that was, I'm sure they're gonna continue with that. Probably make a movie or shows between the two, because let's face it, those scenes were some of the best scenes in all of Marvel between the two. Really funny scenes, the way they worked off each other, improv and all that. Two like of the best actresses right now in 2022. So it's really cool to see that. Just a great show. Highly recommend, especially if you haven't seen it yet. Maybe wait until around November. You'll really enjoy it, like when it came out last year during Christmas time. Definitely a fun show, and I hope we get a season 2 soon. I know we'll be getting more movies with the characters of Kate Bishop, and probably Hawkeye. Clint will be back, but I would love a season 2, because this show was just so good and so exciting to watch. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my rankings. So thank you for watching. Again, my list, this is just my opinion. I would love to hear what you, what you think were the top ones, and what you didn't like and what you did like. Put it in the comments. If you like these kind of videos, these rankings of shows, movies, Marvel, Star Wars, whatever, we could do more of these. So let me know in the comments and we'll do more. And again, of course, this channel is mostly going to focus on collection videos, autographs, and we have a lot more coming. That Grail video that I've been talking about, I'm going to show off all my Grails of $500 value and up. That's going to be coming within the next few days to the next week. I'm working on it. It's going to be a 2-parter, so one part will be posted in 1 week, and then the next half of the items will be posted the second week. Really cool video that it's going to be a lot of fun, so stay tuned for that. As always, thank you for watching, and happy collecting.